Coach Whitaker, the floor is yours.
How's it going today, fellas? Like you said, I'm Cedric Whitaker, defensive back assistant with the Carolina Panthers. Just as recently last year, I was out at Houston Baptist University at FCS school down in Houston, where I coached the cornerbacks, the nickels, and as well was the pass defensive coordinator. Previously, before that, I was out at Baylor University with Coach Rulin's staff in their first 2 years, where we kind of got things turned around. And then previously before that, I was out at my alma mater, Texas Lutheran, where I coached defensive backs as well. So kind of like what Coach is talking about today, we're going to focus on the fundamentals and a few drills that go along with those fundamentals of teaching a defensive back, whether it's a cornerback or whether it's a safety. So when we talk about the fundamentals of things, a lot of people don't equate that to the fun part of it, but I really believe, and I have a strong hold of saying, if we can stick to these fundamentals, then we'll have much more fun, and the base of our fundamentals, we talk about a foundation, whether it's a defensive lineman, whether it's a linebacker, whether it's a corner or safety, nickel, the foundation, I believe, is where everything starts. And if you don't have a strong foundation, everything's going to break down from there. So when I talk about foundation, I mainly like to focus on just a simple deal, which is most important, a stance. And when I say it's most important, because I really believe if you can have the proper stance and your eyes in the proper spot, then you give yourself a chance to be successful pre and post snap. All right, so those are a few of the things that I'm going to focus on today. I'll give you my bump and run philosophy, how I focus on the stance, how we go through those progressions, and then I'll kind of give you my off man philosophy and how we go through those progression with the eyes. And then at the conclusion of it, I'll kind of go through a few drills that I work into my everyday drills as well as my ABC drills, which I'll be able to explain here in a little bit. All right, so just to start with my bump and run philosophy, my first thing that I like to talk about is our goal, our why. What are we trying to get accomplished in bump and run? So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the goal. And okay, sorry, terrible handwriting, but just the first thing we want to talk about in the philosophy is our goal. And the main goal in bump and run that I like to talk about is getting the receivers to run around us. We want to kind of get them to laterally reroute themselves. So every step that I take, if I say I want to get this guy to reroute himself, every step that I take laterally is an opportunity for this guy to reroute himself by 5 yards, which will help out on time. And so number one goal is to get the receiver to run around us. Okay? And how do we do that? Like I said, we want to step and replace. One of the biggest things that I tell these guys is have a cliff mentality. And when I say cliff mentality, we're going to line up about 1.5 yards off the guy and think just about having a cliff behind your feet. If you step back, give them a visual. You're going to die. I'm sorry to say it that way, but that's what get those guys to remember it real quick, So we'll line up and have a cliff mentality. So like I said, when we step and replace, we want the contact to come to us. We don't want to back up. If we get a radical release, sometimes I teach taking a 45-degree step and getting back into a lateral position. But the key deal, like I said, each step and replace that we have, we're basically making the receiver reroute himself by 5 yards, okay? So the main goal is to get the receiver to run around us when we play bump and run. So a few common mistakes that we see, that we kind of see as young DBs or DBs that we're trying to break habits of, we see those guys kind of rise up sometimes in their stance. Sometimes they'll sit in the chair or prop their feet, as some would say. When I say sit in the chair, meaning their butt is going back behind their heels. Then 3, a lot of times you'll see them lunge out, lunge or kind of grasp the guy. But the main point, like I said, is when we step and replace, we want to be able to do this with our feet, and it's not a hand deal. So sometimes I kind of work it with guys with their hands behind their back just so we won't create any leaning or jousting out habits. And then the 4th would be hopping and propping their feet. So just to continue this, I'm going to write some of these common mistakes out on the board. And if you guys have any trouble seeing them, just let me know and I'll be able to write them out a little bit bigger for you. So like I said, a few common mistakes we'll get. The DB, he's rising up in his stance. And what rising up tells me is that his eyes are in the proper place. Now we'll go through a stance right here and talk about where the eyes should be, and then you guys go know from there. So like I said, rising up will be one. Second is sitting in the chair. And when I say sitting in a chair, like I told you, now our butt and our weight is back behind our heels. 3, leaning, which could cause some issues. Like I said, guys are leaning out, trying to grasp it out, using their hands more so than their feet. And then 4, hopping and propping our feet. Now, the reason why I say hopping is at no point in time will we ever want our defensive back to have 2 feet out of the ground. Never 2 feet out of the ground. We want to continuously emphasize stepping and replacing. If we're stepping this way, that next foot is coming, and we're going to stay inside of that cylinder. But make sure we constantly talk to those guys about having a cliff mentality. At no point do we ever want to bag up, okay? So let's go into our stance right here. You guys are able to kind of see some of these deals on the board. If we can't, like I said, just let me know, and then we'll get them. I'll draw it out bigger for you. All right. And like I say, this is important to me, just talking about a stance, because this is the foundation of everything we do. If you don't have a clear starting point, a strong, powerful stance, then you kind of screwed up from the get-go, you know. So I really focus on true fundamentals, and we talk about a stance. Here in the NFL, you literally got to preach that as well. You know, at every level of football, I think it's important to talk about a stance first. So start with our bump and run stance. We want to start off first in a hinge position. Now, this is vital right here, the hinge position. Basically, when I talk about a hinge position, I kind of describe it as when a strength and conditioning coach tell you to get in the athletic position. We're all taught to get kind of in the hinge position, like a power clean position. Everything is done with great force and a center of gravity right from a power clean position. So I tell those guys, let's get in the hinge position. Now, the difference is you may have a corner that's 5'8", you may have a corner that reaches up to 6'2". So their hinge is going to be a little different based on their body type. Then I talk about having a proud chest. So 1, you want to be in the hinge, have a hinge position. 2, have a proud chest. And back at a 45. And this is important when I talk about having a proud chest and your back at a 45. This is important because a lot of those guys get in the position. You see guys want to slouch over with the eyes all the way to the ground. And that just gives the receiver enough room to kind of jerk you down at the back and get past you. And now we're in a leaning position and we're having to catch up late. All right. And then I like to talk about third, having hands locked and loaded. Having hands locked and loaded. So what I'm kind of explaining to the guys, just to get them to remember, I say have hands locked and loaded. We want to have fighter hands right here. We can't get up there and just drop our hands and be able to step and replace and use an offhand jam. So like I said, we want to be in a hinge position, just like with power cleaning right here. We want to have a proud chest, back at a 45-degree angle, hands right here in the locked and loaded position, fighter hands as I call them, all right? So from there, let's talk about our eye placements. Our eyes, I like to continuously, you hear different things, but I like to stick to my guns and kind of teach those guys eyes at the belt buckle right here. I hear a lot of guys saying bottom of the numbers to the belt buckle, but I kind of like to be very specific and detailed. So say eyes on belt buckle. Okay. So the reason that we have our eyes on the belt buckle is basically for 3 reasons. We want to be able to see the shake, see the stick, see the release. Those are the things that are important that's gonna kind of give us our keys to where we're going to step and replace to. So when I say see the shake, Usually when a receiver come off the ball, there's two releases that you're going to get in football. You're going to get a shake in the stick, or you're going to get a radical speed release right now. And just like I said with the speed release, sometimes I like to work a 45-degree angle, get back to a poise situation right there. When I say poise, get back into that cliff mentality that I talked about. So 45, get back into poise situation, and now we can work on that lateral cliff again. But like I said, you get those two releases, a shake and a stick. So I beat it into my guy's head, see the shake, see the stick, because a guy's going to come up, he's going to shake it, and he's going to stick. And usually what our guys like to do, as soon as we see that, our eyes go straight up to that guy's face himself. And realize till realize. I don't know who told me that, but it's a real deal. So you want to make sure that your eyes stay down at the belt buckle. We're seeing the shake and we're seeing the stick. If he's sticking off his right leg, he's going left. If he's sticking off his left leg, he's going right. And I tell those guys, break opposite of the stick. So I'll beat into their head. At first, it's kind of confusing, but once you keep on knocking it into them, they actually trust it to where you start to see guys almost getting to the right leverage before the guy even sticks them, because they're so used to it, you know? So from that position, how do we get in these different phases? Then I'll talk about step and replacing. And why do we step and replace? Like I said, we want to get this guy to laterally release outside of us and run around us. And I continues, like I said, I always tell those guys, for every step and replace, that's 5 more yards this guy got to run around us. That's 5 more yards this guy got to run this way. And now we're knocking off the timing of things, all right? So the best way that we step and replace, you want to feet move, body stays over your feet right here. Weight is on the balls of our feet. Our balls of our feet, the big points of our big toes right here. And then some guys like to twist your knees in just a little bit, just to work a little lateral. I like to see how guys are comfortable, you know, so I like to just work a step and replace on the balls of my feet, eyes kin the belt buckle right there, all right? And then we talk about hand placement, which for younger guys, I don't like to start them out working so much hands, because you start to create habits of leaning and lunging, trying to basically jam the guy rather than step and replacing, and allow him to laterally reroute himself by running around us. So the first thing that I say when it comes to hand placement, like I said, we don't want to create any bad habits. So the first thing that I say is, and I'll make it vital, don't reach. I'll make sure I tell those guys, don't reach. We want to stay in balance, all right? So we want to stay in balance, don't reach. And our hands are really just, they're secondary. They're supplement right here, just to get us back square, kind of knock off the timing of that guy. So you really shouldn't have to use your hands. That's more advanced right there. But to start with, I like to use no hands and just step and replace, getting that guy to laterally release outside of us and take off some of the timing of the route. I also talk about keeping the elbows jammed, keeping the elbows bent. So a lot of guys get out there and they want to throw a quick strike and keep their feet moving. It's not like that. I want quick jabs right here. So if we get a inside release this way, I want offhand jam and jab, bring it right back. Elbows up, thumbs up, bringing it right back. Jab, jab, jab. Not creating long extended haymakers. I continue to tell those guys, haymakers aren't going to win you this fight. We want to step and replace and throw quick jabs. All right, quick jabs with bent elbows right there. 90-degree elbows, thumbs up, creating quick jabs, okay? So then we talk about a post release down the field. So once we get this guy shaking and sticking, now where do our eyes go? All right, so now we need to dissect the receiver's angles. Let me get some of this off the board so you guys can see. Sorry. We want to dissect the receiver's angles, okay? So as this guy is shaking and sticking right here, and we're working the field, now our progression want to go to that inside hip. And these are a few things that I'm looking for right here, all right? As we're keying the belt buckle, we see the stick, we see the receiver's hips sink or rise. Now we want to get into that back pocket, 3 steps out of the break, all right? We want to make sure that we are able to play the ball and the man in the scramble situation, all right? So that's why we want to get our eyes to the belt buckle. So after three steps of coming out of this break, or we seeing the stick, those eyes go straight to that belt buckle, and we want to be able to play the ball, all right? So in our second phase here, the first thing that I talk about is feeling pressure. feeling pressure, or feeling no pressure. So if you guys can visualize it with me, as we're getting to our next phase, post-release, 3 steps outside. Now we're running beside of this guy, and I think it's vital that we also preach taking the arm bar away and just closing off with space right here. We get in a position that we're trying to feel for something, but it's nothing there because we're arm barring it. We want to take away space with our body so we can feel pressure or not feel pressure at all. So let's say we're in our phase and we're feeling a little pressure. One of the things that I mostly tell our guys, how do we defeat pressure? With pressure. So if we're up in our phase and the guy's pressing up against us, we want to press back because now he's either sitting down or he's breaking outside. And as soon as he stick, we can basically fall off into the route. So that's what I talk about, feeling pressure or no pressure. If we don't feel any pressure at all, now we'll wait for this guy to run the fade ball on us, and now we can make a play on the ball, or he's ready to sit down right now. Because if he wasn't sitting down, he wouldn't have any pressure right there. So those are a few of the things that I kind of talk to those guys about. Pressure, he's going to break away from me. No pressure, he's breaking to me, okay? And then I get into the position if we have no pressure, running the chin strap. So when I say running the chin strap, we're basically talking about now this guy has ran a 9 route. He's running the fade on us. And now we got to be able to make a play on the ball. So from that position, when I say running the chin strap, I want to take away all of the space. I wish I had someone here to show me, but as this guy is running outside, I want to be able to close off all the space. In my head, I'm thinking I'm actually going to catch this fade ball right here. So as I'm closing off space, I want to be able to look through the receiver chin strap, and as his hands go up or eyes get big, I want to be able to turn, close into him, taking away all the space right here. And by doing that, I kind of tell my guys we got 3 chances to make a play on the ball, but we got to go up violently. So as we go up the first time, we're going up strong through the hands. This is the first one to kind of disrupt the ball. As we go up, the second chance we get is to bring the second hand around to be able to catch the ball. And I want those guys to have a receiver mentality. The days of telling DBs that we can't catch or they can't catch, that's over. We got playmakers on the field. So like I said, our first chance, as we're running the chin strap, disrupt the ball with our first hand. As we're coming around, our second hand is to bring the ball to us to allow ourselves to catch the ball. And then our third opportunity, as we're coming down, we're ripping through the stop hand, being violent no matter what we're doing. We want to make a play on the ball, okay? So as I talk about running the chin strap, like I say, I want to run through the chin strap, turn it to the receiver, violently closing off the space, giving myself 1 chance to get the ball out of there, 2 chances to catch the pick, and 3 chances violently ripping out and not allowing the receiver catch the ball, and hopefully we come down with it, okay? So when it comes to bump and run, a few of the drills that I like to work is a 2-yard drill, which I'll align the guys basically to begin with about 5 yards away from the receiver. And I like to do it in the head-up position, not with leverage. We want to do it in a head-up position to get the guys to understand what we're really trying to work. From there, I'll continuously beat in their head. Let's have a cliff mentality from 5 yards. You don't step back. You don't step up right there. Our solo job is to have a good stance right here. Like I said, a hands position, big chest, 45-degree back, hands in the 45, hands in fighter position on the balls of our feet. And we want to sit there at 5 yards. And basically what we're doing right here, we're playing bump and run from 5 yards away, beginning level. And all we're doing is sliding and jamming on the line right here, all right? So we'll start from 5 yards away, have the receiver run up, and 75% is perfect. To begin with, you can go 50% just to get the guys to create that habit of seeing the shake, and at the breaking point, seeing the stick and breaking opposite of the stick. So what I'll do is I'll have the guys at 5 yards, have the receiver run up to them and shake and stick, and all I want to see is a step and replace based off of the stick. Now, once we get more advanced, once we get the shake and the stick, now we can work an offhand jam while working feet. And then to get more advanced, now you take that drill from 5 yards to 3 yards, 3 yards to 1.5 yards, Now you're building up that confidence, and you tell those guys, no matter how close we are to the receiver, we're doing the exact same thing. Our goal is to get this guy to release around us. And how do we do it? Step and replace, step and replace, step and replace, step and replace. Okay? And that's my philosophy right there for bump and run. All right, so let's move on to our off man fundamentals. And like I say, guys, when it comes to the fundamentals, to a lot of people, this may not be the fun part, but if you can get the fundamentals, the foundation down, then this will allow your players to have much more fun rather than going out there and chicken winging and doing their own thing. So with the off-man philosophy, I like to start off, like I say, with the proper stance, okay? When I say proper stance, let's go here. If you guys have any questions or can't see the board, just let me know and I'll fix that. All right. So in the off-man stance, we want to be in a foot to instep relationship. Feet about 4 inches apart and weight on the balls of our feet, moving back and forth. And the reason why I say moving back and forth, we never want to be stagnant right here. If we're stagnant with our feet, we're going to give the quarterback or receiver an option about what we're doing. We have stagnant feet and then we're stepping up too, which is cover two. If we have stagnant feet and we're coming square, maybe man. If we have stagnant feet and we're backpedaling from there all the time, it may be thirds, so we never want to be stagnant when it comes with our feet. So like I said, we want to be foot to instep, 4 yards apart, weight on the balls of our feet, and we're just moving back and forth right here, back and forth, knees slightly bent at about a 45-degree angle with a proud chest. All right, so it's an analogy that I kind of picked up from one of the DB coaches down in Texas, Adam McGuire, and he used to always say, well, how low do you want them? How low do you want your guys? And like I said, you may have a guy that's 5'8", ranging up to 6 foot, in the college ranks, 6'2" in the college ranks. And you got to tell these guys, coaches constantly preach, get low, get low, get low. But how low should these guys be? So analogy that I use is, let's say we tied a rope from our nose down to our genital area right here. And I don't want that rope to be too laggish, but I don't want it to be too tight, because if I'm standing straight up and it's too tight, something's getting snipped off and it won't be our nose. So let's make sure we stay in the nice bent position right here and think about that rope. Like I said, foot to instep about 4 yards apart. We want to keep those feet constantly moving. And as we say, get low in the stance. We want that guy to have a big back, proud chest, and basically playing with that rope right here. We want a little lag in it, but we don't want it to be too tight right there. So that's an analogy that I use just to get those guys to understand what I'm saying. So as far as our arms go, which is important in mechanics when we're playing off man, because the one thing that I like to tell our guys when coming out of breaks and moving around is that your feet are going to go as fast as your arms go. It's just like running a 400 on the track. When we get to that last 150, every coach in America says, use your arms, use your arms. So those are the things that I like to preach, is just having loose arms, loose shoulders, and kind of bent elbows. And your eyes should be at the receiver's belt buckle. If we're playing off man, it should be snapping to the receiver's belt buckle. So common mistakes that we see when it comes to stance, we see a rise up.
Hey, Coach Whitaker.
Yes, sir.
We have a question from Coach Duran. Do we like inside, outside foot in?
Myself personally, I like to use the inside foot in, because I'll use a scooch technique or off technique to where if my outside foot is back, that's the foot I'm going to drive off of, and my inside foot, my inside knee, I can point that to the direction that I'm going. So I like to play with my outside foot back, if you get what I'm saying. Did that answer your question, Coach?
Looks like that's it. Yes, sir, Coach. Thank you.
Okay. So common mistakes that I talk about is a rise up in our stance. And commonly, when a guy rises up, the first thing that you should be looking at in drills or as a coach is his eye placement. As soon as those eyes go up, our body tends to go up. All right. Then we want to have our weight back. Like I say, we want to have our weight back. We don't want to be too sliced over right here. We don't want to be too sliced over. Just remember what I talked about with that rope. We want to have it tight enough, but not too tight. Okay. We don't want to step outside of the cylinder. These are big common mistakes. All right. And one of the analogies that I like to use is I say, all right, man, so if I was to give you a cylinder to live in all day, you only had 6 inches to work with. I can let your arms out. I give you sandwiches, give you water. Would you be able to live? And a lot of the guys say no. And I say, well, as a true athlete, everything that we do is inside of a cylinder. And I also, like myself, I'll practice some days without cleats on to where I can just step and replace inside of a cylinder just to show them. Cleats aren't actually a necessity if we stay inside of our body work. Now we got a question right there, Coach.
No, sir. No further.
And then one of the most common deals, and I believe this is really vital, and I see it practiced. Shoot, I've been to so many practices, and I'm seeing a lot of coaches that don't get the concept. But the most common mistake I think that we get, one of the biggest common mistakes, is taking these guys out of practicing and breaking on 90-degree angles. I think that's a big mistake that we're getting nowadays. So what we'll get out there and practice, and we'll have the guy backpedaling, and we're acting like we're breaking on a slant or possibly a dig. And when that guy's breaking, he's breaking on a 90. Now, if you ask me, 2 intersecting lines, the only way you can intersect is going this way. If you're working parallel as the other angle is working parallel, we'll never get there. We're just going to be teaching catches and tackles. So the common mistakes that I see is rising up, our weight back, stepping outside of our cylinder, and something we got to break and not put in drill work is breaking on 90-degree angles. Okay? So we talk about our pedal. One of the biggest deals, and I'm glad that Coach asked about the which leg do we like to have back. I like to have my back leg back, my outside leg back, simply because when I talk about it, as we're keying for 3-step, I use 3 words: smoke, crack, quick. And those guys tend to laugh when I say that, but what I'm looking for in my first step or my first scooch is the smoke screen. My second scooch, my second step, I'm looking for that guy to go in to crack our inside back or whoever. And then in my third step, I'm looking for quick game, hitches and things of that sort. And that's when I want to break. So a few drills that I work a smoke drill. I have the guy out here and I'll just say, all right, smoke, right off my hips. I'll give 1 step and show a smoke screen. And now that guy has to get used to taking that scooch or the step and then driving out. And then I'll work a crack screen to where I'll come out, jog about 3 yards, and at a 90-degree angle with my shoulders, he understands that is not a quick, that is a crack because of the angles of the shoulders. Now he used to smoke, crack, and then driving down, ready to crack replace. And then another emphasis that I'll make is in the quick game, playing the slant, playing the hitch. So we'll work that and we'll scooch, or smoke, crack, quick, violent ons, violent odds out of our break. All right. So we talk.
Whitaker, another question here.
Yes, sir.
Do you typically set up 5 yards off and head up, or 5 yards off by 1 yard inside in your off man?
Now, in my off man, I like to play more so at a tip. So what I'll say is my crotch on his inside knee. So my crotch on his inside knee. I think sometimes we give up a few things if we play too far inside, or if we play head up on him, it's easily acceptable to a slant. So I'll tell that guy my crotch on his inside knee. That answers your question?
Looks like it, Coach. And another one just came in. So you take 3 scooch steps as your key steps.
Yes, sir. 3 scooch steps. And what I say is, in our stance, we want to be toe to end step with those feet just 4 inches apart. We want to be tight in there. And I'll take smoke, crack, quick, 3 quick scooch steps. And if we don't get anything within those 3 steps for a quick game, now we're okay to pedal on up out of there. That answer you right there?
That's it, Coach. And then last one here. Do you teach a T-step?
Myself personally, that's a big battle that a lot of people kind of go about. Myself personally, I teach a bicycle. I think it's practically, you can easily get guys to take 2 steps and come out of a drive. I think you're kind of wasting movement. If you're coming this way, you want to go this way, and then your momentum steps back into a T and try to drive down. Now, there's some guys that do it. Myself personally, I believe in 2-step breaks.
Excellent, Coach. Coach Travick just asked, what are the key points to the scooch steps?
the biggest key point that I talk about is trail foot, lead foot, and we don't want to get outside of our cylinder right here. Now, a lot of guys like to walk out where they'll take the outside foot and then step with the other foot. Now, like I said, the key point that I like about the scooch step is you already have that outside foot back to where if we get any quick gain within that third scooch, now my outside foot is back and I can drive and point my inside knee already. Any questions?
Got it. Excellent, Coach. No more questions for now.
Okay, sounds good. So then we talk about a stem pedal from that point. Now, a lot of guys that come off the ball, we teach a stem pedal. In order to maintain our initial and horizontal leverage, we have to basically stem pedal a lot of the time. So coming off the ball, as we're keying this guy and we get a stem inside, what I like to do is take that initial step, my first smoke step or crack smoke step, and I'll take a slight 45-degree angle with that from that point. And just like I teach in bump, I always say 45 to poise. That's all we're doing with a stem step. So we'll take a 45-degree angle to the direction that we're getting stemmed, and we'll get back in the three-step mentality. So I go stem, smoke, crack, quick, and I'll get back in that mentality. From that point, I can either backpedal or break to my divider if we're playing thirds. Okay. So we talk about, like I said, in football, I don't really believe in 90-degree angles. So the angles that I do work are 45-degree angles and 180-degree angles. So let's say we have a 180-degree angle to where we're now in the back pedal and the receiver is forcing us to open up. From that position, I like to always constantly talk about ripping and hiding our numbers. Ripping and hiding our numbers. We have to open up. So when I say rip and hide our numbers, a lot of guys get in the position to where it's time to open up, and the first thing they do is throw that shoulder up this way. They'll throw the shoulder up this way, but in order to break, your center of gravity have to be low. So instead of going here, ripping high or throwing that knee high, I talk about ripping and hiding our numbers. So violently ripping down. From that point, now our numbers are low here, and if we have to run vertical, we're already in a good length position running. Or if this guy's opening vertical 180 and then he wants to bring it back, now we're in a low position, ripping, hiding our numbers, keying that belt buckle to now, instead of coming high to low and sticking, we're already low. So we just plant that foot in the ground, eyes on the belt buckle, and now we're playing that receiver. Okay. So like I said, a few of the things, and these are my personal beliefs. I don't really teach breaking on 90-degree angles. I don't at all. I teach breaking on the 45-degree angle, whether it's smoke, crack, quick, breaking this way, smoke, crack, quick, breaking this way, smoke, crack, quick, pedal, breaking at a 45 this way, or it's 180 degrees this way, or 180 and coming back down. But I never teach an actual 90-degree angle because I always want to keep those guys in the mentality of making a play on the ball. Okay?
Hey, Coach, 2 questions here for you.
Yes, sir.
First one is, I know you teach outside leg back, but does it really matter, or is it just preference or scheme to which foot back works?
It's my personal preference to keep the outside foot back. Now, some guys may have their own beliefs or have it work into their scheme to where the other foot can be back. But just from my scooch mentality, I like to keep that outside foot back because now only thing that we're transitioning from is a scooch to a true back pedal or a scooch to driving on the smoke screen or driving on the slant. Now, sometimes you get players who aren't as, I can't say good, but they're not just trained to take those walkout steps, and then on quick game, they got to transition with 4 or 5 steps in order just to get their inside foot going. You know, so to manipulate it a little bit and kind of take out some of that stress of being stuck in your 2-step, I'll just keep that outside foot back to where I can just stick it and go.
Excellent. And then do you change which foot is up when it's in zone?
I don't at all because, like I said, as I'm doing it, I'm having a preference of driving on the quick slant because that's what we're getting nowadays.
Okay. This one's real specific. Playing cover 3 matching zone concept corners outside shade of number 1, 6 yards deep. Would you play inside foot back?
So I'm playing with my match cover 3. I'm going to play that guy inside. Now, just like we said, if we get those tight splits, and we're expecting that guy to break out then that's something that we can manipulate. But myself personally, I'm still going to keep that guy's outside foot back. Good question right there.
All right, that's all we have. Continue, Coach. Thank you.
Okay, so just talking about a few of the fundamental drills. And I like to break my drills up into EDDs and ABCs, you know. So my EDDs would be my everyday drills. All right, and I'm really specific when I do these drills here. My EDD drills, the point of the drills are to stimulate the quick twitch muscles. You know, get these guys their muscles firing, be able myself to control their eye placement and their foot placement. So with these drills, I like to use cones, you know, lines and different stimulus, whether it's a ball or different things like that. And I like to sit back and analyze myself. You know, with these drills, the purpose is to enhance the reaction time, you know, on a stimulus, the hips, cones, lines or balls, different things like that. And I think it's important to give a very well communicated stop and starting point, and to overemphasize foot, eye, hand placement in these drills, which most like what I say, this is the drill that I'm gonna get to right away. The players recognize the name, they're quick, and they can kind of start the drill, and is to kind of get these guys moist, like I say, get them sweating, you know. So common drills that I'll start with, which the guys pretty much know, is a W drill. So right after stretching or whatever, I'll get those guys and I'll just say W, you know, and I'll have this drill going for 10 yards. As the guys running over, they'll start here on the sideline with their outside foot up. Like I said, starting here, outside foot up, I want to take a smoke, crack, quick step, and we're driving straight down at a 45-degree angle, if you guys can see it. Here for 10 yards, we're going to take a smoke, crack, quick step, and we're driving down at a 45-degree angle right here. Now with this, we really want to emphasize violent arms and violent hands right here. Violent arms, violent eyes. And when I say violent eyes, I really want those guys to really lock into that belt buckle right there. So one of the key things that I say, how do we get out of breaks? The guys probably say, well, we got to have strong legs. Nah, let's take it back to track. How do your legs go fast? We have fast, violent arms. Same thing, like I said, in the 400, you get to that last 150, the monkey jumping on your back. Now you got to have violent arms right here. So, like I said, we'll do the W drill this way. Smoke, crack, quick, drive 45. 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 And let these guys finish, and then we'll go back the other way. Like I said, this is to stimulate those quick twitch muscles, and also it gives me a chance myself personally to sit there and coach those guys. Hey, eyes up. Violent arms. Make sure we're not stepping in the bucket. Let's stay in our cylinder. That gives me a chance just quickly to get those guys on the important things of the day. So we'll have the W drill to start off with. And like I say, these drills are quick. You want to give them a quick name to a W drill. Get out there, boom. And we started. Then we'll go to a line drill. Like I said, in these drills, they're done with stimulus. So like I said, we'll have a cone. We'll have lines for these guys to actually control their eye placement, their foot placement, different things like that. So I'll start these guys out 2 at a time on the line right here, and we'll work those different drills, whether it's a back pedal brake drill, back pedal open up at a 45, back pedal open up at a 180, back pedal open up at a 45, back pedal open up at a 180 and come back down. These lines here, they just give me an opportunity to say, hey, let's make sure those feet are within our cylinder, 4 inches apart. We got tight feet, and we're chipping up the grass right here. This gives me an opportunity, like I said, to overanalyze their eyes, their feet, their arms, different things like that. And then I may do a crossover drill. So with the crossover drill, like I said, I want to get those guys' muscles firing. So I'll do it from the sideline. I'll stand here, and I'll put the guy out in the middle right here, about 5 yards from the sideline, and I do it in the middle of 2 lines because now, like I say, it helps me analyze foot placement. I don't want those guys to run too far over the line, but also it gives them a stimulus to work off of. So I'll start the guy here, and I'll say, go. The guy's job is to stay square, as square as he can, get into the line right here, tapping this line in. Once he taps this line here, I want to see him violently open up his hips, violently, like I said, open up his hips, control, crossover, coming back this other way here. So what I'm teaching right here is for those guys, if you can think about it, it's teaching hip control, it's teaching how to violently come out of breaks, If we're in bump and running, those guys are throwing us by. Now we can violently cross back over ourselves. So right here, we're going to tap this line from the middle point. We're going here. We're going to cross over, violently open those hips, coming back this way. Once we get here, we want to open back up just the same way as we did when we went this way. Violently here, coming back, violently here. Now, once we get back to this line, I'll tell those guys, rip, and hide those numbers coming this way. So we're here, boom, touching the line, ripping across, coming here, boom, ripping across. When we get here, I want to be violent, ripping inside, hiding those numbers, and I give the guys an opportunity to go up and attack and attract the ball. So with my EDD drills, like I said, I'm not really big on cones, different things like that. But at this point, I like to get those guys kind of excited for practice. So I'm getting those muscles twitching. I'm giving them opportunity to catch the ball. As we're doing break drills, I'm giving them opportunity to catch the ball, giving them opportunity to key the belt buckle out of the break. I'm giving them opportunity to really emphasize our feet, our hands, and our eye placement. So then I talk about a box drill. And these drills right here, like I say, just to get these guys sweating, man. So I'll set out 4 cones. Like I said, I'm not really big on cones, but I'll start the drill here. And I usually put myself right here and have the the cornerback start slightly behind me, already in the second phase of position. Now we're running upfield. His eye's going to be right there on the hip. So I'll tell him to go. He'll be here. I want to see violent arms sprint to the cone right here. Once we get here, once we get to the first cone, we want to rip, hide those numbers, coming here, coming back this way. Rip, hide numbers. Once we get to this cone, this third cone here, instead of ripping and hiding our numbers, as we're coming this way, boom, we're coming to this next cone. Now, I just want to stick my foot in the ground now. Stick my foot in the ground and get right back vertical. So as we're coming here, we're going to go stick, get vertical. All right.
Coach, we got about 5 minutes left. All
right, I'll be done here shortly. So we're sticking and getting vertical. Once we get to this cone now, when we're on the outside, rip hide numbers and come back to a ball right here. So now with this box drill, I think it's great because now we're getting to stimulate all those muscles. As we're going up, we're controlling the eyes to start the drill. Once we get here, we're going to take a man turn to come back into it. Once we get here, we're sticking. Then once we're coming back here, we're ripping again with the outside shoulder. And then at the end, we give them a tree to ball. This is a great drill, I think, right here to stimulate all of those deals and overemphasizing, like I say, our feet, our eyes, and standing those cylinders. Okay. So with my ABC drills, I move around from the EDDs to the ABCs. My ABC drills are my agility, my block destruction, and my collision drills. And I usually pick about 3, to go with. So for my agility drill, my ABC drills, I want these drills to be field applicable, So instead of using cones and different stimulus like that, I want to go body on body, So agility drill that I would work if we're playing heavy man on a Tuesday, I want to make sure that I'm working that 2 to 5 yard drill as I told you about to step and replace. Or I may work a 5 yard off man drill to where now I'm in my second phase. We're no longer working smoke, crack, quick. Now I got to react off the stimulus of the receiver. So like I said, my ABC drills, instead of using cones, I want the stimulus to be a live body. Want to have a clear starting point, a clear ending point, whether it's the ball or the defender or offender or blocker. And then it's another opportunity for myself to analyze hands, feet, and much more so those, eyes, feet, and much more so the hand placement now with block destruction. So my first agility drill, I would do a 2 yard drill, step and replace, or a 5 yard off man drill. Then going on to my second phase right here, my block destruction drill, I'll use a whether we're using block destruction on the perimeter against bubbles. I want to teach those guys to be violent with inside hands and ripping off. Or if we're facing a team that don't run too much perimeter game, now we want to talk about defeating the cut block. So that could be a block destruction drill. And then my last would be a collision drill. Now, I'm big on teaching heads up tackling, so I'll do a deal what I call a V drill and line those guys up on the sideline right here. And I have my tackler, my ball carrier right here, and I just tell my ball carrier to run to the V of these two lines, you know. And all I'm teaching right here is head up tackling going this way and head up tackling going that way. Now, if you run out of time, a nice drill that I like to use is what I call a block destruction and tackling drill. So what I'll do is I'll have the numbers right here, sideline right here. I have the ball carrier right here, and I'm controlling the ball carrier. So I'll tell him to go here, send this guy out in the back pedal, tackle on top of the number, send him out in the back pedal. And once he sees this guy break, he comes out of his break. I'm going to send him out of his back pedal. And once he sees this guy go, he's coming to block the stroke. And this is also a perfect drill. Once he blocked the strokes, he's looking for me to step this way or this way. Once I decide which way I'm going to go, now he better not hit me. I don't want him to hit me. So the things that I'm looking for is now this guy's going to step replace, come to balance, and basically be able to step replace into me, as well as bring his hips through me, not make a collision. But it's a chance for me to kind of analyze his feet, his eye placement, which are important when we're having a collision. Or I'll bring a live guy out there and give him an opportunity to make the tackle.
Excellent, Coach. One quick question here, and then we're going to take a quick break. Are you turning to man or to field on a fade route?
On the fade route, I'm turning into the man. I want to take away all of that space. Like I talked about with running the chin strap, I want to take away all of that space. If I turn away from the guy, then that's a chance for him to turn away to kind of fade away from me. So let's just say if the board was the receiver, as I'm running down the field and I get my indicators, I want to be able to turn into him. Now I'm taking away that space and I give myself those three opportunities. First opportunity to play through the hands, second opportunity to catch the interception, and third opportunity is to come down violently with the ball or make sure he doesn't come down violently by grabbing that stop hand.
Excellent, Coach. That's awesome. Great session, Coach. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break.